I'm turning it on right now. Okay, we're good. All right, welcome to the planning board meeting for Wednesday, September 13th, 4 o'clock. I wanted to introduce myself since we have some people who've not been here before. I'm Margie Cummings, I'm chair of the planning board. So, if you want to introduce yourself, so turn on your microphone, please.
Sasha Cohen. Claire Cummings.
William Rose. Christopher Willie.
Mary Anderson. And Gail Hall.
So we're your character, or your cast of characters here for better or for worse. And the first thing I'd like to do is make a motion to roll over Grabowski's until October the 11th. They have requested a continuance. John,
That's probably gonna go away. Could you move it to January instead of October, so we don't have to keep coming back for it?
is that legal?
I think that you would have to renotice.
Well, I don't mind renoticing it before. I'm moving to January to be noticed, but we're gonna probably withdraw it to be now, but not by October. That's the only thing I'm suggesting.
I think that they should just reapply. I mean, it's gonna be an entirely new application and then it's gonna sit on a legal notice with neighbors not realizing what's happening until
Just
January? Yeah.
What?
Just continue.
David, October, you guys can work it out. Okay, so I'll make a motion to extend till October the 11th. Clifford Grabowski and Judith Serrera, and do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. We'll see you in October unless we hear otherwise. Okay, getting to number 1 on the agenda, the town of New Shoreham.
Well,
12, lot 2, fire number 6, Payne Road, public hearing for a modification of a previously approved application by the Block Island Health Services for development plan review for an addition to the medical center. The lot is located in the medical zone, which is called MC, New Shoreham, zoning ordinance, Article 3, Section 322.
I'm gonna recuse from this.
Okay, you have introduced yourself. We'll have the record show that. And I will make a motion to open the public hearing. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. All right, who do we have speaking today? And would you make sure that the little red, green
Green.
light is on?
There is a little green light on.
Good, talk into the microphone, because all my friends yell when they, when they watch the.
Yeah. I'm Robert Ignari. I'm the architect for the project.
Do you need to? I can tell that you're-
I'm not.
Is that better?
How's that? Is that better? Is that better? There's a green light on to me.
Yeah, kind of lean into it. That's what's.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
That's better.
Oh, discombobulated.
Yes. So I'm Robert project and I testified before this board on the very first version of the design, and I was absent at the last hearing.
Mhm.
But I can answer any questions on this latest revision.
Why don't you go through and explain where it was, where you're moving it to, why it's being brought back before us for this change, so that we have some information to work with.
Okay, so what we're talking about is the residential building, the residential hall. It's for the visiting medical students during the summer. So it's like a miniature dorm. And that's on the east property line. It's a separate building from the main medical center. And when we placed it initially, it was in line with the back of the Davidson residence, which is, I don't know if there's a plan, but the residence that's in the middle of the yard where Lori Anderson lives, we were aligned with the back of that. And after some discussions, when it was staked out, some of the stakeholders felt like it should be pushed farther to the north 30 feet to give her more space around the Davidson residence. So this proposal is to move the building north 30 feet exactly, same distance off the east property line, 12 feet. And it'll be 400 feet from the back property line. It used to be 430 plus or minus. The only other change relative to that is we have to have fire truck access to the building. And as we move the building back, we had to bring that roadway back a little bit. And the roadway is perforated pavers and grass, so it won't, look completely like a roadway. But we also had to add a fire hydrant because now we brought that building farther from the main fire hydrant, which actually is a good thing. And in doing all that, we decided to rearrange the main parking lot that's in the back so the fire truck has easier access and there's less disruption to the existing site. Otherwise, the truck would have to do a K-turn onto the doctor's property and we'd have to build a roadway there. So we sort of flip-flopped that and kind of cleaned up the back design of the parking lot. So we have the same number of parking spaces. We have 2 that are reserved for the Davidson residents. And then we've opened up this space between the Davidson residents and the new residence hall. And that's basically it. The design of the medical center is the same. Number of parking is the same. The lot coverage is essentially the same.
Okay, questions from the board? I have one letter that has come in, which I read and let you comment on that.
Sure.
This is from Bobby and Troy Reynolds. We are neighbors of Tristan Pate and his family and are very concerned over the drainage issues into the lower level of our houses and Troy's driveway. A 30-foot house is a large building, which means a lot of dirt removal. We don't object to the new dorm, but we do object to the direction it is being moved in, north. There is plenty of room to move it closer to the medical and school buildings. That is south. Cluster zoning will be much more attractive and won't be as damaging to our property values. By the way, Troy was never notified about this project. That has nothing to do with you, but anyway, no letter again, the same as when they built the gym. Earth removal caused very bad drainage issues for Troy. He asked to have it fixed and nothing was done to change the direction of the runoff of drainage water. Please address the drainage system issues and the distance of the dorm from our house. Thank you very much for your help in this matter.
Okay.
Bobby Reynolds and Troy Reynolds.
So with regard to the drainage, it's kind of an interesting situation. So as everything exists now, there's no drainage structures. Everything is surface drainage. So everything that drains off the roofs and any impervious area simply flows to the north and down the hill and makes its way to whatever the lowest waterway is. With this new design, and even 3 years ago when we did the first design, we had to upgrade the standards to the current civil engineering standards for stormwater drainage. And we have now 2 underground stormwater retention systems. One is in the doctor's backyard, and one is west of the residential building, northwest of the Davidson residence. And they're large underground polypropylene structures that contain the water and meter it out through the ground. So there won't be technically the surface drainage that they've been experiencing at all. And these are designed to a certain percentage above the runoff. There's an engineering calculation for that. And it contains the water, it holds the water, and it allows it to filter and slowly recharge the underground system.
Okay, just wanted to make you aware of their concern.
Yeah, no, that's a
You
valid
can
concern.
keep that in mind. Charlie can keep that in mind.
Yeah.
He was looking at the. Okay.
And the town engineer reviewed and approved the drainage design as is.
I'm
required.
well
Yeah.
aware of that, but since it was on record, we need to have you at least talk about what you planned or already are planning to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you also, the letter also brought up that the person was objecting to the closeness of that building. Could we recommend that there will be plantings between the 2 neighbors to minimize that effect?
So this neighbor is to the northeast.
Hmm.
So they're several hundred feet back. I mean, we could put plantings parallel to the back wall of the building. When I designed that building, by the way, and it's relative to this, the half of it or the third of it that's closest to the medical center is the 2-story building. The part that reaches north is a 1-story building that has a gambrel roof. So I tried to keep that small and as low as possible. And then we tried to keep it as close to the school as possible because there's the behemoth of the gym wall right there. And this does project beyond that slightly. But to answer your question, so we have about 20 feet that we could run parallel to the back wall of some kind of planting that would screen it.
Right?
It's a cute little facade, but if they want to screen it.
Yeah.
There actually
Something.
is a vegetated buffer between. South.
Could you come up to the mic, please?
So are they on the east side of the property line as opposed to the north side looking back? Okay. So yeah, there already is planting there that we can enhance and we could add more if we need to. I mean, it's not a very big building, so it's easy to do that. And we are going to have plantings between the Davidson house and this house too, just to make them all feel a little private.
I just wanted to bring up on her.
Why don't you use the microphone, Charlie?
I'm Charlie Weber. I'm the owner's project manager for the job. On Bobby, Miss Reynolds, on her letter, she wrote that, you know, a 30-foot building is a big building and the building is a lot bigger than 30 feet. And we stipulated that when we reached out to her last night about the issue that she's having with it, that the building's not 30 feet. I didn't want her to be under the idea that the building's only 30 feet because it's not. We're moving it 30 feet. So we clarified that when we reached out to her to address the issues that she had with it, just so that there's no contention moving down the road. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay, so she has shared with you her concerns and you're addressing them to the best of your ability.
The concerns are already addressed and already approved, what you guys had already approved with the drainage system. You know, I just wanted to make sure that she knew that the building was bigger than 30 feet, you know, because it's twice the size of that.
Yeah.
So going forward, I just didn't want her to come up in 6 months when the building is framed and say, why is this thing so big?
Okay, you could move it like just 20 feet, but make her happier instead of moving it 30 feet.
She's 212 feet from the edge of the building.
Okay.
I don't think 10 feet is going to matter.
All right,
135, 430.
okay.
Well within the setbacks.
Okay, oh, yes, absolutely. Okay. Any other questions from board here? Any questions from the audience? Okay. I will move to close the hearing, so this is your last chance to say something.
Oh, I just had a quick question.
Good, go ahead.
Question maybe you can answer.
Sure.
And not my forte, but I just saw it on your list of additional notes, so I was kind of interested in the Scotch brand and the Pittsburgh fabric and the 300 finish Pittsburgh coating, that pit coat. Are they FAFSA free? Are they free of the pure fluorocarbons? Do you know?
I
'Cause
don't know.
There was a lot in that industry that was reviewed for more eco-friendly, sealants.
I would have to ask the civil engineer. Yeah.
Okay.
Just the architect. I didn't design the system.
Okay.
I don't design drainage systems, but
Would you mind asking so
of
that
course.
it
yeah.
is a sealant that's a little more eco-friendly and also human-friendly?
Yeah.
In terms of carcinogenic material.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay.
That's all.
I just want to mention, so the decision, application from Mark had a few, conditions that had to be, completed by building permit. So I think a few of them are still outstanding, like the utility plans, detailed utility.
That was submitted.
To this week, was it?
So what's happening is we now have to submit to the state fire marshal first. So we've done that about 6 weeks ago. So the building department can't review it till they receive that approval. So we're in the state fire marshal review right now. As soon as we get this site plan approved, because of the fire lane and the hydrant, then that review's done. I've addressed all of their comments, and then that goes to building, and that's where they'll review that engineering drawing, which we do have.
Okay, so I just wanted, in preparation of preparing an updated decision, just
Yeah.
want to know the status of those, make sure we're all clear on the status of these conditions and what
Yeah.
should still remain in a revised decision.
Right. So from an engineering standpoint, that work has been done
Yeah.
and they're sitting
Just
ready to be.
review
reviewed by the town.
Sewer allocation is still not finalized,
No, that's still part of the moratorium and
yeah. And
that
then
waiting period.
it sounds like you've been working with the local emergency officials on the fire access to the
Yep.
building.
Yeah, we met out the site with Kirk Littlefield. Chris Hobie wasn't available, and we
Yeah.
met with the representative from the state fire marshal's office. We walked the site. We located this extra fire hydrant. We talked about the roadway, and this drawing reflects that meeting, that on-site meeting.
Yeah, because that was one issue that we had left as far as
Yeah.
having like a letter that there's. convenient
Yeah,
access
Chris
to the
Hobie will
building.
be writing us a letter if he hasn't yet that I'll post with the drawings.
Great, okay.
So are there any other conditions we ought to take a look at?
Those were the three from that was from your past review and decision, those conditions. So they're making progress on them, but we'll just.
Well,
in any,
reiterate, and we could also add in there additional screening if it looks like it's going to be necessary.
Yeah, we could walk the site once construction's further along, and make a decision
Okay. So we'll
with
put it-
whoever wants to represent. Yeah, that would probably be the best way to do it.
Well, I want to put it so it's in the revised decision that you will put in additional screening if it's if it is decided that it's necessary.
Yep.
Yeah. So, Allison, anything else that we should take a look at before I close the hearing? One last chance. Anybody on the audience have questions? Okay, then I make a motion that the hearing be closed.
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, I take it the consensus of the board is that we will approve the change in location of the building. So is that okay with you, Mary?
Mhm.
All right,
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
I'm also yes. Yes. All right, so let the decision so that the board's approved and with the various modifications and addition of the plantings. And I think that there. Do I need a motion? Okay, I make a motion that we approve the moving of the building 30 feet as requested by the architect.
Not the building of 30 feet by 30.
By that, yeah, 33,
Otherwise, the building is 30 feet.
no, move the building 30 feet, what is it, north? North, 30 feet north. Let me make that very clear. That's what I meant, if it didn't come out that way.
any other associated changes like
And any other
reflected on the site.
That had to
plan.
be done in connection with the moving of the building, such as the hydrant you were mentioning. Okay, yes, I did see it on the drawing. Okay. Do I have a second?
second.
You're falling down on your job. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right, thank you, guys. Thank you very much. Best of luck.
Thank you, Jen.
Seconded, yes, so she did. That's your job, right? Okay. Number two, Barbara McMullen and Henry Dupont, plat 16, lot 69, fire number 1163 off of Beacon Hill Road. Public hearing for the preliminary plan stage of a minor subdivision off of Beacon Hill. I will make a motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No?
Joe Priestley representing Mr. DuPont and Ms. McMullen. They are here in the audience, as is their engineer, Ken Cole, for any questions. It's a relatively simple subdivision. The lot is located south of Beacon Hill Road and is accessed by a 33-foot and a 40-foot right-of-way that runs into its northern portion. When you get to the northern part of the lot, there's an existing roadway that goes to the east, providing access to the King property to the east. And we'll be constructing, according to the town standards, a new road heading to the west with a turnabout, according to the standards, to service the second lot. Both lots are approximately 3 acres in size, just slightly less. Both have approximately 125,000 square feet of developable land, and they conform to all your rules and regulations. On the existing plan, they show existing greenhouse remains. Those have been removed. They've actually given the greenhouses to somebody else on the island. They're being used elsewhere. So those are no longer there. They won't be shown on the final map.
Okay,
And also, the proposed site is for identification purposes. That also, we don't say that and the proposed OWTS will not be shown on the final plan either. Those are just to show that we can in fact satisfy the requirements. So, Mr. DuPont, Mrs. McMullen are here. Mr. Cole is here if you have any questions or if I can answer any questions for you. It's a pretty straightforward 2-lot subdivision.
okay. Questions or comments from the board? Good, go ahead.
I just had one question, and actually Bert is here, so I'm not sure what protocol is for showing that the rights of way all the way to the property have already been confirmed, and Bert can certainly confirm, being one of the owners of the right of way coming to the property, that that's all accomplished and deeded and
And they've been, there's been the access since Henry got the property for many years ago. And I can assure you that their title access to Beacon Hill Road is good
great.
over those rights of way.
And then I just had one other, there is an accessory structure. Sure. There's an accessory structure on the property, and I know you're not supposed to have an accessory structure without a main structure. Does that come into play with a subdivision? This is all new to me.
We don't want to tear it down now. They're not going to be recording the final plan until they've built the road. At such time, hopefully somebody will have bought the lot and they will either have kept the accessory structure, or if they don't want the accessory structure, we would move it to their house lot.
Great.
Okay. All right, one comment here that on the memo from Allison has to do with the it says town engineer Jim Jeremy has reviewed the subdivision application material, recommends drainage plan and surface runoff calculations be completed and submitted for review prior to the issuance of a building permit. So you have seen that, I'm assuming.
We've seen that, that's fine. And I assume that will be a condition of your approval if you decide to approve it.
And what numbers and so forth. That was the only thing I picked up. So anybody got anything else?
Mm-mm.
Allison?
Well, just to Gail's point, the site plan reflecting the right of way. Is it shown, like there's no notation on the plan on your site, I mean, on the property, but to demonstrate on the plan? It talks about a gravel drive.
He's showing proposed, I think he says, if you look next to where the house, proposed pervious 12-foot wide drive, and that would be according to the town road standards.
That they, just to show access to a public road, like, so it's over plat 16, lot 68, right? Turnip Farm, they have,
You know, there's two rights of way that run that way all the way to Beacon Hill Road,
I just want, there should be a notation added to the plan of,
saying that it has access to Beacon Hill Road.
right, like, and maybe note that you said you have the deed.
We can note where it comes from.
Yes, just to demonstrate that.
Any questions from the audience or comments?
I just have one. So you're planning to build all of the infrastructure first before you record the final?
Yes,
Okay, and deal with the accessory?
we'll deal with the accessory. Yes.
Prior to final.
Well, if we have, what we'd like to do is if we have a buyer who's in place and wants to keep the building, we'd like to have you allow it to stay, even though it's, even though technically you're not supposed to have an accessory use without a primary use.
Right, so you couldn't record this final subdivision with an accessory.
That gets to be an issue because we're not going to be able to sell the lot without it being recorded. So basically, if you say we can't do that, we're going to be required to either tear it down or move it. Whereas if we allow it there, if somebody else is going to use it, but not allow it to be used until there's a principal use on it, we can offer it to somebody and they could theoretically buy the lot and then build their house and use the barn.
Can we make an exception?
I don't think we can.
No, only the zoning board. So I mean, you could record it and get the building permit at the same
Have a time, yeah.
So, I mean, there's a way.
We'll deal with it. I understand the issue. We'll deal with that when the time comes.
Anybody else got questions or comments? All right, let's take a look at the required findings, which are at the bottom of page 1 of Allison's memo. See if you have any concerns. I'll just go through them very quickly. Every landowner and subdivision should be consistent with the New Shore and Comprehensive Plan or satisfactorily address issues. I don't think there's any problems with that. 2, each lot in any subdivision shall conform to all standards and provisions of the new zoning ordinance. Jen is making sure that you will conform to that before you finish. There will be no significant negative environmental impacts from the proposed development. Subdivision shall not result in the creation of individual lots with such physical constraints as to develop to development that the building on these lots according to current regulations of building standards would be impractical. I don't think that's a problem. All proposed land developments and all subdivision lots shall have adequate and permanent physical access to a public street. We've already discussed that. Each project or subdivision shall provide for the safe circulation of pedestrian and vehicle traffic. Make sure that there's surface water runoff, suitable building site, preservation of natural, historic, or cultural features. And number 7, the design and location of streets, building lots, utilities, drainage, and other improvements shall not create flooding or soil erosion. I think you've taken care of that. And all proposals must show evidence of the fact that the project will not necessarily impair scenic view, burden existing water supply, result in increased traffic congestion, create any ground or surface water pollution, alter or cut through existing stone walls, except as essential to provide safe and necessary access to the property. Identify any unique and significant historical or archaeological sites. I don't see that there's any problems there, so I think the answer is that we approve of the subdivision project here.
I think there are some neighbors present who may want to speak.
Okay, are there any comments from the audience? Microphone. I keep forgetting.
If anyone wants to speak, wishes to speak from the audience, please needs to use the microphone.
Okay. All right, no questions, no comments? Then I will close the public hearing, so going once, going twice, last chance to say anything, either the board or the audience. Okay, then I make a motion that the hearing be closed. Do I have a second? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion's closed. All right. So any questions or comments about how we are going to go ahead and improve this? Since we've had it, this is our second chance to look at it. I will make a motion that we approve the lot 69 off of Beacon Hill Road. So for minor subdivision.
Second.
Okay. Any questions?
We're gonna add all the findings that you stated before.
Yes.
And the issue with the accessory.
And the issue, I was going to say, before we vote on it, the findings we went through and we agreed they're not a problem. And yes, we want to talk about the accessory building. Anything else, Allison, that I missed?
We were gonna, the avenue to provide the notation for the right of way. And
Yes,
One
good.
other thing we had, the surface.
The drainage.
Calcs, before building permit and lot number assignment, on the final plan that the tax assessor issues.
Okay, and the tax, we did not mention the tax assessor should be, but you do have that in the memo. So yes, we should include that.
And
Okay.
I did solicit.
Okay, good. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone
Aye.
opposed? Okay, motion carries. Good, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay. Number 3, Mark McGuire and Linda Jackson, flat 11, lot 10-2. Mitchell Lane, public hearing for development plan review for an application for a variance from section 306C for side setback relief and for a special use permit under Article 3, section 306E, Article 4, section 401 and 406 to demolish an existing single-family dwelling and replace it with a large single-family dwelling. And we will do an advisory to the zoning boards.
Joe Priestley representing Mark McGuire and Linda Jackson. Mr. McGuire is here, as is Rob Harrington, his designer, and Ken Cole, his engineer. The lot is an existing developed 2 acre site of Mitchell Lane. It's a very steep lot that where the building is located basically in the northeast corner. Just behind the house, it's sloped down very steeply. There's a stream at the bottom, which has a 100-foot setback. So the 100-foot setback shown on the map, and it defines the area which building can take place. The building is taking place within that and constrained by that. Also constrained to the east by the location of an existing septic system, which they are going to maintain and continue, and to the west by the location of a well. So there's essentially no place on the lot you can build but where the house is, but it also makes most sense. And to do that, it requires not only a special use permit because it's 47 square feet larger than the 2,000 square foot, but it also requires a variance of 12.5 feet to keep the property located 37.5 feet from its westerly boundary. It's the exact same position as the existing house. We're not moving any closer to that boundary. And in fact, what we're basically doing is filling in where the house is, building over some decks, but really barely increasing the footprint. Mr. Cole can do a better explanation of the site plan, and Mr. Harrington can do a better explanation of the site. But there are a couple of issues that were raised in the memo. One of them was the nature of the stone walls, and I've got your section 306E and section 406 of your zoning ordinance that relate to stone walls. And I'll give you a copy of it. I've highlighted in yellow for you the portion that does. The long and short of it is that the walls are being built entirely of stone and timbers, and therefore don't require a special use permit and can be built any size necessary. They're not particularly large walls. The relevant portion is in section 406A5, where it says that retaining walls constructed only of stone or timber are excluded from this category. Now, there are other walls that are excluded, but these, as associated with a walkout basement, these would be also, but essentially everything's being built of stone and timber, so it doesn't become an issue. The other technical issue is the decks.
Yes.
And
Yes. I told you that before.
Oh, my goodness.
And Mr. Horgan is going to speak to this as well, but I'll break in the issue for him.
Thank you.
Allison quoted what I've given you accurately in her memo. What section 406G4 says is that any elevated deck above the first floor is anchored so that there are at least 2 walls of the building bordering the deck. In no case shall the total area of an elevated deck exceed 1,200 square feet. The question becomes, what's an elevated deck? Because if it was any deck, it wouldn't have the word elevated. It would simply say any deck above the first floor is anchored. Our decks, it's our position, and Mr. Horgan again can explain it to you better, are not elevated decks. One sits on a flat roof. Doesn't have any piles holding it up in the air. It simply sits on a flat roof of the first floor of the building. The others sit in the roof line, and the roof comes down below them so that they're entirely within the structure of the building, and they are within the roof itself. Again, no poles sticking up to them. Again, our position is they're not elevated decks. Again, Mr. Horgan is much better able to explain that than I am. And if that's, and so with that having been said, I'd like to call Ken Cole, and he can familiarize you with the site plan.
It is.
Getting their name. Yeah.
And can you just describe the property and why it's built, where it's built, and the restraints that are involved?
I think so, yeah.
The property's, it's 2 acres in size. And it's presently developed at the top of a hill. And there's some very steep terrain heading in a southerly direction. So the intent of the new project was to still try and grab the relatively flatter terrain at the top, but then incorporate the decking, paver patio and pools to the south, but not push the limit of disturbance out much further than what's presently there, so that we can maintain separation to the DEM's stream buffer that's to the south and east. And we tried to keep the new building no closer to the western property line than the existing one. And the client wanted slightly larger square footage, and we feel like we've fit this in as best we could to try and keep the majority of the development in the flatter area, because anytime we start doing construction on a steep slope, boy, it really gets challenging to keep the slope stabilized and build things on level ground. It's a lot easier.
Now, does the location of the septic system to the west prevent you from moving the house further to the east, prevent you from moving the house further
Yeah.
from the east away from the boundary?
Exactly. The DEM separation to the septic system is 15 feet. And we're right at 15 feet with what's there. The existing house was right at 15 feet. So our client would have to rip that system out and put a new one in if we were to try and slide it over, achieve the size house that we've got shown on the plan. We'd have to rip the field out and put a new leach field in.
And wouldn't the well that's located to the west prevent you from doing the leach field to the west of the house?
Yeah, I've got a 100-foot well radius drawn on this plan, and I'm bound to that by DEM standards.
So is there any location in the flat area where you could move the septic system in order to move the house to the west? To the east?
To the east, no, there's not. Without getting rid of the system.
Well, even if you got rid of the system, where could you couldn't?
Well, yeah, no, it would still be preventing us unless we went for a variance with DEM to their stream buffer, and they're not gonna want to see that.
No further questions from Mr. Paul or does? The next witness is Rob Horrigan, who's the designer. Rob, if you could just walk them through your plans, the materials you're going to use. The plans, the materials you're going to use, and just to start off though, I know it says it on the engineer's plans, but all of the paving, all of the walkways,
Yeah, patio.
roadways and everything else are permeable. Is that correct?
Yeah, yep. I mean, I think the landscape details haven't been finalized, but I think the idea here is to really keep everything and all the materials on the job as natural as possible. It's all cedar on the outside. It's all natural stone. Any metal that's used is copper just to kind of to age and not really stand out. So, and I think, one really important thing on the design of this house was the second floor decks for the homeowners outside of their bedroom spaces. And they didn't really want them to, they wanted them to blend into the roof line. They didn't want them to kind of stand out and be, up on posts up above the grade. So, I mean, to me, they're not really elevated decks. They're really built into the house, into the roof line of the building, on top of the first floor structure. So, I don't know. Any other questions?
You show the board on the You've done some renderings. Can you show the board on the renderings how the decks fit into the roof line and onto the roof surface?
Yeah, sure. Let's pass these around.
If you can refer them, they have it. If you can refer them to the page.
Okay. So I guess, I think the second page, does a better job at starting to show it. It shows the deck on the west side. And it's really it's kind of creating a flat roof over the mudroom space. Moving around the house, there's some perspective views and bird's eye views on the south side. Yeah, besides the ground level deck, everything up top is, I mean, you can really see that it's built into the roof line of the house.
Yeah.
You're gonna have a full on two of the decks, you'll have some full railing, but I mean, on the south side, it's built, most of the railing is created by the roof line.
Personally, I don't have a problem with the deck that is set into the roof. I think that's kind of anchored on either side. I do have a problem with the west elevation one because that is exposed on all three sides. So I do have a problem with that.
And again, our position is that it's not an elevated deck. It's a
Yeah.
deck, and because it doesn't stand on columns, it's simply sitting
Doesn't say
flat.
it has to stand on a column, Joe.
But it says it has to be elevated. It doesn't say a deck above the first floor. It says an elevated deck above the first floor. And therefore, that sits flat on a roof. It's not elevated. If you took the position that that deck needs to conform, then you can remove the word elevated from the ordinance and simply say a deck above the first floor, because then any deck above the first floor, but you're only talking about elevated decks. So it does say they have to be elevated. And our position is these aren't elevated decks.
Is this a new, I have a question, is this new, this elevated deck? So at the end of Payne Road, there's a new
David.
home within,
David's house, the end of Payne. Can't remember his last name.
I can't remember, end of Payne Road.
That would only
Did it
apply.
go, yeah, did it go through, only if it was within the, large house regs that this standard applies, so. The deck,
Really?
it's within that set of regulations, yeah.
So you could build a house with an elevated deck that doesn't comply as long as it didn't require a special use permit under the large house ordinance. So this only comes into play then.
Okay, it's interesting.
So it's really the zoning board interpreting this
Right.
standard. I mean, this has come up a number of times now
Right.
recently, interpretation of the standard.
Yeah, we may want to make
so,
this clearer.
Yes, that, how we handled it, recently with,
Yes.
another application where you raised the concern,
And the zoning board approved it.
No,
the original design of it
Yes,
without the
Yeah.
change to.
without the modification that the
Okay.
planning board recommended.
okay. Then I would say we will simply make the in the decision, simply flag that and not worry about it if that's agreeable with the rest of us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, we will. And I think we could also go so far as to say we have no problem with the front deck because it is set into the roof on both sides. So we could just go ahead with this, and flag it, and then the zoning board can take a look at it.
That would be,
Would that work for you?
we'd be quite happy with that.
Okay,
Yes.
all right.
Can I just-
No, I think we have some other things we want to discuss too, so we got that one out of the way.
Could
Yeah,
could you just, are you an architect or an architectural designer? What's your
Designer.
architectural design?
Yeah, yep.
And I have no further questions from Mr. Horgan unless the board does.
nope, I don't think anybody does. All right. Thank you.
I have a question with lighting.
Okay, I do too. So that goes back to,
Oh, it doesn't go there.
I just have another question. Ken Cole, what is his, title?
Okay, just come to the microphone, Ken, please.
Project manager for Atlas Land Surveying.
So Joe, the, part of the ordinance, it does say that it's, the plans have to be stamped by a Rhode Island license.
If you make that a condition, we can get them stamped as required.
I've designed buildings out here before, and the only time that was a problem when we needed an architect stamp was in the historic district. But outside of that, it's never come up before.
Well, it's specific to this section of the zoning ordinance. There
Okay.
isn't.
And I think it's only for certain size computations. It's not for everything, is it?
It's correct.
Yeah, so we
Whatever
can get those, computations to you.
Okay.
Stamped, yeah.
Okay, make a,
Comply with that section.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
yeah, well, make a note of that when we come to the decision. Joe, do you want a lighting addressed to you, or would you like it addressed to Rob?
Yeah.
Rob, okay.
Rob, for the lighting, will the lighting on this comply with the New Shoreham lighting ordinance?
Yes.
And how will you design the lighting?
I was gonna say, well, what more explanation than just yes, please? How? Because I've got some concerns between the pool, the third floor and so forth, the walkway, you have potential for a lot of lighting. And we really treasure our dark skies here.
Okay. Honestly, there hasn't been a lighting plan designed yet for this project.
Will all the lighting be focused down so nothing's going up?
Yeah, you can see it in the renderings. They all have a cap on them, the outside lights. There's a cover on all lights.
Okay,
And on all the covered porches, it'd be similar to what's shown in the renderings. Or, other than that, there might be recessed lights but again, those would be facing down.
right. But what we're interested in is that you design the lighting with the idea that we want as much light focus necessary for safety, obviously, but nothing in excess if we can decide to try to protect our night sky as much as possible.
And I think Mr. McGuire wants to address that. He's
That's fine.
yeah.
So we're going to have a lighting consultant and it will be all dark sky lighting outside. So
Okay.
we will ensure that.
And just share with them, if you will, our concerns about the fact that you have the potential between the pool and the walkway and the third floor to have maybe a little bit of excess lighting. And we want you to certainly have your safety issues taken care of, but no excess lighting if we can avoid that.
Absolutely.
Good, that would be
Yep.
great.
Thanks.
Gail, you have anything else?
No, that was my question.
Okay.
Marty, are you requiring the applicant to submit the lighting plan or just submit with the building permit application? Do you need to see it?
I'd like to see it just to make sure, but if that's a major problem, we could insist that it be done later, but.
Since they're really early on in construction, would prefer to have the hearing closed and get a decision, but we'll submit to the building official and to the town prior to building permits.
Okay,
Right, so I will be required to review the lighting
yes,
plan prior to the issuance of the building permit, if you put that.
yes, that I would like to have you take a look at,
rather than
yes,
Coming back.
that would be fine. Because you know our concerns, you listened to them a number of times over the years. Gail, you got something else?
I'm sorry, I have to add that I missed the application, but I reviewed the record. So I was able to hear
And frankly, the
This
entire hearing is this
public hearing.
evening, so you're entitled to vote.
okay.
We have
thank
no, we have no question about that.
you. Okay.
Other questions or comments? No. Questions from the audience? Joe, anything else you want to add?
I've said enough, I think.
All right. Okay, we have some standards to take a look at. It's on page 2 of your memo. Starting down at the bottom. Again, I'll go through them very quickly, and if anybody wants to jump in and say something, just let me know. Proposed residential structure is cited so as to minimize impact on view sheds, including where possible location below the crest of a hill or a ridge line and away from the centers of an open field. They did discuss that at the beginning. The proposed residential structure is designed and cited so as to be compatible with its historic and cultural setting. 3, the area of the site disturbance and the alteration of the natural grade of the at the minimum necessary for construction of the building. 4, all existing stone walls on the site are to be preserved or reconstructed as part of the site plan. And he did mention stone walls. Screening the proposed building is achieved by using existing natural vegetation with additional plantings as required by the planning board. We actually have not really talked about planting, so we might just mention that when we get through the end. Attached garages are located below the first floor grade and attached by a breezeway so as not to aid to the dwelling's bulk, and are oriented so that the front is not visible from the town or state roads. 6, as part of their review, the planning board may recommend a reduction in the required front, rear, or side yard setbacks as provided under subsection 406 F2, recommending a lower height or requiring a full landscape plan prepared by a registered landscape architect. So, Joe, do you want to comment on the little bit on the vegetation and landscaping?
I think Mark,
Okay, fine. Mark, would you please be so?
So our plan is to keep nearly everything as is, except for where we have to move some rose bushes for the build out, for the basement build out. And there's a chestnut tree that we will try to keep. However, the roots may get damaged by the work that happens on the site. So we're just not certain about that. We'll have to get an arborist out to give us a consult on that. We have 2 big maples in front of the house. As you drive into the yard, we're going to retain that. We're going to keep those. They're very mature, and then everything else will remain as is. So the site is very constrained on the entire lot, and we won't be doing anything else.
Okay, that's fine with me. Anybody else got questions?
Like painting wall, so is there a detail included in here about confirming that it's all stone? And the dimensions here, and the railing like the height of those, is there a building code like railing requirements at all?
Railings as in deck railings, or railings as in?
We've seen in other retaining walls, in other applications, not that
So-
we're not recommending railings, but I just wanna understand.
I don't think there
better
are any requirements for railings on retaining walls.
the height, depending on how high it is, like a fall hazard, how tall are
I
those?
think Rob wants to address that. If you could, Rob, come to the.
You do not need railings if it's just for landscaping only. I mean, if it's something attached to the house, like a deck, you need railings, but I mean, if it's for landscaping or retaining wall, you don't need railings.
How high are they retaining?
I don't know if there's a number on that, to be honest with you.
You know,
What did you, I think you were talking the other, the approximate, what's the highest one of the retaining walls?
The
Approximately.
highest one is 5 feet, 5'6". I think they're gonna come down once we actually get a landscape architect involved, but I think they're gonna.
And you're
I'm lower than
comfortable,
that.
you're comfortable with a provision that requires them to be built of stone and timbers, is that
It
correct?
says on the plan stone. That, I mean, it doesn't say native stone, but it just says stone retaining walls.
sometimes it might just be like the facade is,
We don't want that.
well, that's what,
And that, and we're not proposing a facade, we're proposing stone and
entirely
timbers,
stone.
correct?
Yeah.
So a stipulation of
That would be fine.
10 of 5'6".
But the height is shown on the map because they're approximately that, but they don't scale. So we'd rather not have a limit on the height.
And if you're working with landscape architect, that may change.
Right, we come to grades during construction, it may be higher or lower depending, so yeah, we're not ready for that
The
yet.
average, not gonna see. What's
Can you live with that, Rob, or should I say 80?
I mean, sure. Is it relevant? Really?
you have to,
Is it, I mean, yeah, we could say that, sure. Go ahead.
I need enough. voice.
I'd be more comfortable with 8 to give them some leeway since we don't have all the accurate contours.
You talking about this here? Yeah, I was gonna say, this is what you're, here, right there.
Yes,
That's what you're talking about?
That wall on average is gonna be 5 feet tall, no taller than that.
Then I'd say 6 feet, so I'm
The
concerned.
walls that come out of the basement, I mean,
Yeah.
those are stone walls too. They're gonna be taller. Those are gonna be more in the 8 foot range.
Is this the building official territory?
It really, no.
Because it's. because
For
you-
code
it
and
could be-
safety?
Well, as far as the code or safety, that's. That could be the building official, but it's also, because it's in your ordinance, talking about stone, with the retaining walls, I think we should.
Although the ordinance does say that walls made of stone and timbers only do not come within that jurisdiction. That's the thing I handed out to you. Section 406, I think it's G5.
I'd rather have this in the building official's purview myself. I don't think we're
We,
qualified to say what's safe and what isn't
we
for
would,
someone
we
walking
would
off
much
the end of a
prefer,
retaining wall.
we would much prefer that.
Yeah, it doesn't fall under zoning as far as the railing and code.
Right, but I mean, when a property is being developed, doesn't a building official look at every aspect of the property and then determine whether there are violations that are safety hazards?
I think it's really. I don't know the answer to that.
Okay. I'd rather leave it in their hands. Personally, I don't know how everyone else feels.
I just want to make sure it doesn't stick up too high, which was why I was leaning towards.
I think you can say substantially consistent with the plans presented. So that we will be substantially, we're not going to change those significantly. We're not going to all of a sudden,
Okay.
we're talking about just adjusting to the contours of the terrain. You're going to see what you have on those, on the plans and on the, what do you call the drawings again?
The renderings.
Renderings, excuse me.
Okay,
So maybe the applicant should protect himself or herself and talk to the building inspector to make sure that, you don't waste your money putting all that in and then having to tear your walls down. That's
That would be part of the normal inspections with the building inspector during construction and normal ongoing consultations with the builders and the building.
Good.
Yeah, they won't start building this till they've got to sign off on the building plans.
Yeah.
okay. All right, any other questions or comments? Anybody from the audience have any more questions? Okay. I don't have any more questions, so going once before I close the public hearing. Going once, going twice. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, do you want to pose to closing? Okay, motion carries. I think we want, and Allison, when drawing up the decision, to make sure that she includes some of the material that we have talked about at this point.
And we, although we're technically scheduled before the zoning board in September, it's already reached the point where I can't get it advertised in time. So we're going to be before the zoning board in October. But if you'd be more comfortable kicking this over a month and having Allison write up a decision, that won't delay us.
Okay, I think we'd be happier with that. So, Allison, have you got any questions for us? Yeah,
Can I make one note?
yeah, so absolutely.
I'm wondering if when Allison writes her notations, if we can actually add that one of the reasons I think I'm readily approving going over the 2,000 square feet is because it's only 47 feet. We're not granting a 1,500 square foot I think it should be in the record that this was easier to approve because it's going very little over what the guidelines, the standard is.
Okay, fine.
Mhm.
Anybody else have anything they want
Right, Scott.
Allison to add? No, okay. And Allison, anything else you want to ask us?
No, I think I've got.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of material to prepare some drafts.
Okay, well then we will see the draft in October.
Well, advisory.
Yeah. Okay, that'd be great. All right, thank you.
That's it. Can you go? Is he free to go?
Yes. You can go.
Could I just ask the consensus to approve it? So we're clear on.
Oh, yeah, well, okay, I thought I did that, I guess I didn't.
But I
I would vote for approval with the stipulations that we have already discussed. Gail, how do you feel?
I agree.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, okay,
Yes.
okay,
So you're
everybody,
gonna vote officially next month.
we will officially vote on it next month. but the consensus is that we do not see problems except those things that we have already flagged. Okay. Good. Well, thank you guys very much, and we will see you in October. All right. Okay, number 4. Robert Kenny. Plat 6, lot 35. Ocean Avenue, public hearing for development plan review for the application for a variance from section 113C1 and 313C for construction of a second floor onto an existing building. Section 111, commercial residential mixed use. Okay.
My name is Bobby Kenny, the owner. I have Ken Cole with me as well.
Yep, just getting there. I make a motion to open the public hearing for Robert Kennedy, Ocean Avenue, application for development plan review, et cetera.
Second.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. Bobby, go ahead.
I guess there were some questions in the previous meeting about parking. I think we addressed that. So I'm basically here to answer any additional questions.
Well, why don't you start by talking about landscaping? Because that's one of the things that we were interested in, because we do need to have some landscaping between the street and the property.
We didn't, I believe we submitted Derek Van Wilgen's, Derek's plans last meeting.
Sorry, just a technical question, asking a technical question. This is, so you have not opened this public hearing until tonight, correct?
That's correct.
All of the testimony is right now. Just to make sure.
Yeah, what we're discussing now is the official record.
And there's no one.
No, as far as nobody told me they were recusing. So, yes, I agree with you. You did discuss stuff with us last time, but that was not the public hearing. So this is the official record that I'm going to go through the material with you now.
Okay.
Well, as far as, I guess I could vouch for, as far as the plantings go, I believe Derek Van Lent had some plans that may or may not have been submitted to you guys for this meeting. And I don't have privy to a copy of that with me. But Derek, I know had some plantings proposed.
What we have here, it looks like this. It just has.
All right, that's my plan.
It would have been, Margaret, was prior to the meeting.
Okay. This one.
I can explain the proposed plantings I put on my plan.
Okay,
They were basically thinking ahead to when I got to deal with the CRMC after we're done with insurance. I have to plant a screen to block whatever's going on to the wetlands that are to the west. And I put together a planting schedule. Bobby's got some mature maple trees that are on the property. And I know I dealt with coastal a lot, and I know they're gonna want a screen to just like, I don't know, minimize the impact of whatever they're concerned about. So we have a planting schedule of plants that they like, that are indigenous to the wetlands that are, the freshwater wetlands that are to the west. That's all I've prepared. And Derek, you hired Derek to produce.
Yeah, I thought
another.
the plans were already.
Derek Van Lent's plan was distributed in July, so.
Oh.
It was a while back, but I just passed
is this,
a copy.
yeah, this is, it looks like,
Yeah.
like this.
Yeah.
And it has the
Yeah. Got the existing trees, it's got a hedge along the road on one side,
Right.
screening on the other, yeah.
Yeah, and there was, the plan that was in front of you last month, there was some miscommunication between Derek and I. We had made some changes and I didn't get a copy of that. I have reflected everything on my site plan now. He He had shown a walking cooler, a dumpster, some fencing between the hardware store, and a fence around the residential parking area. I made sure that my plan now matches what Derek put in front of you last one. I didn't see that.
Yeah. So, sorry about that. Miscommunication.
Okay. Questions from the board?
I have one.
Go ahead.
I just have one question. Did we see a letter from the town water department for that there is a water allocation for you?
I've been working with John. As a matter of fact, he was on my site this week because we had to put a new water line in. So that's all being addressed.
I think we requested a letter in the July meeting though, or I think we requested confirmation because you had answered the question, but we didn't have confirmation from.
Okay,
him.
I have an email from John back and forth. If that's something I can just send over to Jen if you'd like.
I think that to be able to get a building permit without water allocation, the medical center had a special exception.
Okay, you want to talk a little bit about the inside then? What you're going to do on the first floor, because that helps to determine what kind of parking you're going to have to.
Yeah, the
make sure that
parking,
we meet.
yeah, I think if you look on the left-hand side, number,
13,
is it? Yeah, 13 addresses the parking situation.
right,
The cafe / coffee house is approximately 1,000 square feet and about 400 of that is open space for seating. We currently have approximately 6 tables for 24 seats. The town of New Shoreham requires 1 parking spot per 10 seats. So we're just over, just under 3 parking spots. We have 4. If you look to the, on the print, if you look to the,
right.
yeah, the left, the northwest side, you'll see 4 parking spots for the cafe.
Did, yep.
And then for the parking on the second floor is required 2 spots. If you look to the southeast, you'll see 26 by approximately 22 feet. That's enough parking for 2 spots, which is required. You can see that marked.
Yeah, and one of the questions that Allison has put in here is what are you doing as far as your showing your loading space for your cafe?
Loading space?
Yes, you apparently need to show a loading space is required and has not been demonstrated on the site plan. This is from our town planner, Allison.
I guess we can take away one of the parking spots to the northwest and designate that as a loading. If that's required, or we can use one of those and, make a sign that says parking / zoning.
Yeah, you just have to make sure the trucks aren't stopping on Ocean Ave.
Oh, no, yeah. Well, we know that,
Yes.
just like they do in the center of town to the other fairs. Yeah.
Exactly.
No, there's actually plenty of parking. If you look at the deck, the northeast side of there's some odd 20 some odd feet between the deck and the town road. But we certainly can designate an area for loading. That's not an issue.
Okay, and then it would need to be marked on your maps and so forth.
Yeah.
Good.
And Margie, I did review the parking plan with the applicant and I mean, they have extra parking.
Right,
So there's 6
That-
spaces.
so that should not be a
4
problem.
Would be required.
Okay, and the other thing that was flagged by Allison is the safety concerns regarding the backing up of vehicles into the public streets. So
Well, if you noticed,
I did, go ahead.
if you noticed, unlike, my neighbors where there is no parking, you see where it says existing asphalt area, there's over 10 feet. So if you're backing out, you'd be still on our property, either north or south, depending on which direction you leave. So there's plenty of area to back out without going into the state road.
Could that even be helped if you make the parking spaces an angle? Then when cars back out, they don't have to turn as much?
No, that's not practical because
Okay.
if you're coming from the north, it's one angle. If you're coming from the south, it'd be a different angle. So I think as if you see on the map there's plenty of room to back out without going into the town road.
Similar to the depot.
Yes,
So the actual traveled edge of Ocean Ave, there's still about 10 feet of
Yeah.
asphalt between where cars drive by and
Good.
where Bobby's
Yeah.
property line is.
Okay,
And that was
that's,
probably just for the previous service station, gas station.
I would imagine, yeah, because there's plenty of asphalt too much.
Yeah.
I've already ripped off so much of it because it's just unsightly. Planted some grass. I'm sure if you drove by, you see my grass that we just unfortunately had to rip up because we needed a new water line. But you got to have water before you have grass.
Yeah, you do. Okay, and if you'll talk about your apartment on the second floor, there, again, there's some restrictions that go with that, as I'm sure you're aware of, which is a deed restriction saying that you have to be living on the property.
Correct. That's that's my living area.
Right.
Right.
So, but you need to explain that, so.
Oh.
For the record, if nothing.
I'll be living on the second floor of the coffee shop
Okay,
and I'll be running the coffee shop. So you pretty much find me anywhere in that building.
you have nowhere to go and hide, okay?
I can't hide.
All right.
Maybe you can see my dogs, but I can't hide.
All right, fine. Any other questions from people here on the, okay. Allison, have you got questions that you wanted? Okay. Jen, anything?
No, I don't have any concerns.
All right, questions from the audience? Okay. Well, I will close the public hearing if there are no further questions, so you have one last chance. Going once, going twice. Okay, I'll make a motion that the hearing be closed.
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you for your time. You guys have a good evening. Be safe.
Just wanted to, are you scheduled for zoning at the end of?
Yeah, this coming, I guess it's
Oh, no,
20.
you're already-
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if we do a draft for next time.
That's great. I didn't-
Okay.
No.
As far as I'm concerned, he has addressed the issues that we have here, and I would be willing to approve. Do I get here? Okay. Okay. All right.
All right. Thank you all.
Good. I'll make a motion that officially we have Allison write up a favorable advisory and bring it to us for approval next month. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay,
It's advisory, so
it's an advisory.
now advisory, so the two separate,
Okay, what do
so
I?
this is development plan review, the planning board will approve this development plan review. It's not advisory to the zoning board, but they have a variance application before the zoning board.
Okay,
So it is the planning board's decision in this case. It's not a special use permit. This is a use permitted by right, so. it
okay.
Just requires.
So we give you favorable approval for that.
So so draft up a decision of the board approving this development plan review.
Okay, fine.
For next month?
But next month,
Okay,
okay,
because it's a binding decision.
right.
Recorded and evidence records.
Okay. Yes. Okay, so we'll get that from you next month.
Yeah.
All right. Good. Okay, bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. We will finish next month.
Ken, can you let Bobby know that he doesn't have to come back?
Yeah.
Okay.
If he wants, he's welcome. It's not required. Okay. Number 5. 1167 Gracie's Cove Road, plat 19, lot 72-1. Gracie's Cove Road, application for a development plan review for an application by David J. Beck and Deidre E. Beck for a special use permit under section 513D, 306E, and 401 to convert an accessory residential structure to an accessory dwelling unit. Advisory to the zoning board of review and review and act on the waivers. Okay, and we will set the public hearing.
I assume we're going to hold the advisory opinion to the development plan review. I'm not here at this evening.
What's that?
What? Wait a minute. What this is saying is, we're gonna just go through this and then we'll review it and act on your waivers and set the date for the public hearing.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yep. Okay,
This is an existing developed property. On it, there is a 4-bedroom, single-family dwelling, a 3-bedroom, section 513 dwelling, and a 2-bedroom accessory residential structure. The entire purpose of this application is to put a kitchen in the two-bedroom accessory residential structure to make it an accessory dwelling unit. No external construction, and we have an approved septic system. There's an OWTS approved this year for all 9 bedrooms. So basically, there's no external construction whatsoever. They want to put a kitchen so that their son, who's an island resident, can cook in his own house instead of having to go next door and cook with his brothers.
How big is it? Right.
How big is what, the kitchen?
The accessory residence.
It's approximately 500 some odd square feet. Below it, there's a garage. It's on the second floor. There's no change in the garage. The garage stays a garage. The accessory residential structure is only that existing second floor.
Okay. So there's a stairway and a balcony above it that leads up to the upstairs. With the pictures I'm looking at, is that correct?
Yes, that's the building.
Okay. What confused me a little bit was there were plans in there.
Oh, yeah, boy, you were, and that's all my fault.
Okay.
The first, the first,
My mind. huh?
no, you're not. The first set of plan, the first application, I thought they were expanding the building in front, which they actually did 10 years ago. So I followed that application. Then I got an amended application, which you think you have, which tells you what I told you this evening.
Yes.
Yeah, I apologize for that. I screwed that up royally.
And the old septic system is shown in this application.
And you have the new septic system in the amended application, which Jen has and which will be circulated to you. I just got her the plans today.
Oh, great.
But yeah,
And I knew what was happening on the property, so we just reviewed it for a building permit maybe a year ago.
so she was nice to me.
Well, I got through this and when I finished reading all this, I thought, okay, are they adding to the 4-bedroom? Are they trying, I understood the 2-bedroom, they wanted to put the kitchen in. And then I couldn't figure out what you were doing with the 3rd building. I was totally mixed up.
And that, Marty, that means you read the application perfectly accurately.
Yeah, and twice as a matter of fact, because I thought I'd screwed it up somewhere.
It was
Okay.
a mess.
So let me state for the record, once again, since all of us may have been a bit confused. It is only the 2-bedroom, which you are going to change from a rest to what I would call 513 for putting in a kitchen, which that would make it a residential.
Under the new termination, it's now an accessory dwelling unit.
Okay,
And that's what, so it turns an accessory residential structure into accessory dwelling unit. The
No.
513 remains as a 513 and the house remains as a house.
okay.
Okay.
Correct, so
Yeah.
it's an existing structure that's going to be converted to a 513,
It's-
special use permits needed, there's 2
Yeah.
513s on the property.
Right.
But it's an existing
But it-
accessory residential structure.
Which is gonna
being
become a
converted to an
513.
Accessory dwelling unit.
Yes.
Yeah, which I call a 513. So, and we're approving this because there are 2 513s on the
That's-
property.
That's why we need the special use permit.
Right.
And
Okay.
do the
So all-
units meet all the rest of the standards? Like, there was nothing in there with the square footage, so those are all, they're all below. That's the only, special use permit. As far as all the standards in 513, the units meet, like
Yeah.
the size.
Oh, the
So-
1,200 square feet and the.
I'll have, Joe fill up.
We'll I have that, we'll have that before you, but yes, we're not asking for any size variances.
And the
It's-
existing 513 is a 3-bedroom?
It's a 3-bedroom.
It is. And does that exceed, that doesn't exceed 1,500 square feet, correct? Or
No,
1,200?
no,
No.
Okay.
It's
no, they're
16
very small buildings.
16 by 20, that one.
I'm
I have it
familiar-
down here at 16 by 20 now. With the 3-bedroom.
All right, so it was a recent change to 3 bedrooms, because we just recently modified that.
Yes.
Ordinance, so.
Yeah,
That's what got me confused.
Yep.
okay.
Okay.
That's changed. Not that long ago. Amended,
Right.
They added the bedroom. under in process.
I think it is. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So basically, we're asking you to review our requests for waivers and schedule us for hearing next month.
Okay, let's take a look at the waivers required. They've asked for waivers of number 3. All material required to support the special use permit decision revised to reflect the decision, including any conditions or stipulations imposed. They filed the material, but they can't revise them until we get through the development plan review hearing process. So so yes, we would grant a waiver for number 3. And then you've asked for 6, drainage analysis. Since there's no change in use.
And there's no external construction whatsoever.
No effect on drainage, no construction.
Are you putting in a new septic though?
No, they've already installed a new septic system. And you'll have it in the plans that are the refiled plans.
Okay. And so that will be for us next month.
Pardon?
I said you will have that for us before the meeting next month.
Actually, Jen has it now. So
Okay, fine, yes.
I gave it to her on the way over here today.
Okay, number 7, you've also asked for, which is the nutrient loading analysis.
Right.
And you just don't need that. And you've asked for 8, erosion plan control. If there's no construction, you don't need erosion plan control. So I don't have any problems granting the waivers. Does anybody else?
No.
No, okay. Then I'll make a motion to grant the requested waivers.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. And then I would set up the public hearing date for October 11th. So we will see you next month.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else?
Yeah, I would just recommend, Joe, if you could just put together like a little brief summary of what's being, like a description of the project, like what's currently on site, what's going to be changed. Yeah, and we'll just take off a lot of that application material that's been.
Yeah, I was gonna say-
just remove it from, like, it doesn't,
Clean
it's
it
not
up,
relevant.
like it doesn't
It's just going to
exist. Yeah.
confuse everyone looking at the
Yeah.
application. the
We will
public.
all edit and throw out.
Yeah.
Yes, okay. Whoops. Confusing.
Did you make a motion to set that public hearing?
I set the date, but I hadn't made the motion. I will make a motion to set the date for the hearing for October 11th at 4 o'clock.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, we've already continued Gronkowski. That leads us down to number 7, the Margaret Milliken Trust, under Charles E. Milliken trustee. Plat 8, lot 194-2, Pilot Hill Road. Final plan approval for a major subdivision of property on Pilot Hill Road.
This you approved preliminarily, but subject to the condition that Charlie build the road. You actually granted him an extension a couple of months ago, and he's now built the road. And my understanding is that Mike Shea has approved the road.
Yes, he has. I have a,
So I think the plan is in order for recording. Jen did raise an issue about whether you need to put the words and utility easement on the right of way. The recorded easement, which is along that right of way, specifically reads an easement in common with others 20 feet in width to pass and repass on foot and with vehicles, and for the installation and maintenance of underground utility lines. I think that's sufficient. And
Well,
Yes.
I like to have it shown on the plan to say the utility easement, because sometimes you deduct things, in the future, it. Sometimes
Yeah, I agree.
utilities are deducted, right of ways aren't, things like that, just to show that there's that. Just adding a couple words there. Utility easement,
you could approve it subject to, we'll get it in the staff sign off on it.
Yeah.
That would be-
yes,
Sure.
I don't see any reason for not doing that.
Right.
Thank you.
And hopefully my surveyor is not in Jim.
and the book and page will be updated on there, that's referencing,
So just for right of way and utility easement.
yeah,
That work?
and is it referencing, yeah, the correct deed,
Want
we'll figure that out, yeah.
We'll
like,
talk? Okay.
The right of way is referencing, this is the,
The meets and bounds description is conditional, is consistent with the plan. It was drafted before that plan was recorded. So that it references an earlier plat of the version, but the meets and bounds description is identical to what's shown on that plan.
it's just referencing an older,
Plan.
yeah.
Yes.
So that when you go to updating the easement labeling on the plan. and reference.
So do I need to make a motion?
The other question is on subdivision, the stormwater, the drainage calcs that had been put off. It wasn't submitted. It was going to be, the condition in your preliminary plan approval states that it should be completed prior to final plan. So now we're at final plan and that hasn't been completed.
We don't have any, is that for the road or is that for the building
So-
sites?
Well, it says road design and stormwater management measures for the 2 lots in the subdivision must be submitted for town engineer review prior to final plan approval with written findings to be submitted to the planning board. That was the language that had been included in.
And what we did on the McMullen one just a while ago was have that be dealt with prior to building permits. And since we don't know what we're building, we can't, you can't, even all calculations for stormwater are based on falling off from roofs. So we could do a 20 by 20 foot building. It wouldn't mean anything. So we'd rather wait till we have a real building design and have it be part of the building process.
Sounds logical.
Yeah. We have a checklist here for requirements for the final plan. I think Allison has gone through most of them. Are there any other questions or comments that you have tonight?
Could you approve it with the provision regarding the drainage and also with the staff approving the language related to the utility easement?
I'll make a motion to approve with the 2 stipulations. One is the drainage and the other is the referencing the what is that?
Utility easement.
Thank you, utility easement.
Second.
Okay, questions? Last chance. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right. Last minute approval of minutes for August. They were it was a very short meeting. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Okay, any corrections or additions? No, I didn't see anything. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. And I make a motion that the meeting be adjourned.
Second.
All those in favor say aye, and I'm not asking if anyone opposed. Thank you, guys. This was great.
Covered a lot of ground.
Yes, we did.
Goodness.